Support the Amigos podcast and keep the Amiga goodness flowing for just $1 a month. Visit our page at patreon.com/AmigosPodcast.
Amiga, the first personal computer that gives you a creative edge.
Amigos, the podcast about everything Amiga. Amigos is a proud member of the Throwback Network, your home for quality retro podcasts. And now, here are your hosts, Aaron Dowdy and John Bodovkar Schaller.
Yeah, that's much better. Nice work.
I'm not starting the show by saying hi and welcome to the Amigos.
What are you gonna say?
Well, because the theme song says it all. So why do I need to say hi, welcome to the Amigos? I'm John and I'm Aaron. Why do we need to go through that whole shtick when right before that my pre-recorded voice says, and now John Schaller and Brent or Aaron Dowdy.
Oh, first of all, you just screwed up big time. And second of all, we've done it the same way for like 100 and some episodes. Now all of a sudden you get this inkling to change it.
I feel like 106 is so.
You should do it like Michael Buffer or something. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, use your announcer voice.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls,
children of all ages. Introducing you now, the man, the myth, the legend. You know him, you'll love him, John Bodovkar Schaller. Schaller. And then Aaron. How you doing? How's that?
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
So, Amigo Studios East, Aaron.
Is that we're just gonna kick the show off?
We're kicking the show off. We're not doing the. We're not. I'm not going to say, but before we do or any of that, all that's gone.
You know what we should just start the show off with?
What?
We are two hacks. We have no idea what we're doing. How many shows have we done?
I've been planning this for years.
We've done 100 and some shows, and we are ham and egging right at the opening of this show.
So from now on, we're not we're going format free.
Just every time.
Do you remember?
Random things.
Do you remember when 107?
We have a format.
Do you remember when they switched over and there was like that weird period where they didn't know what they wanted to be, and one day they were the all Zappa station?
One day, I know for like one straight week they played nothing but Louie Louie and its variants. Yeah. That was great.
Yeah. So this is kind of that episode for us where we're in our middle period, our dark middle chapter.
This is our experimental phase.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
so
get some Laurie Anderson.
We're throwing the format out the window.
We don't have a format. We've never had a format.
We have a very defined format.
What is it? Oh, like let's hear the news, Aaron.
And then we do side updates. And
that's it.
Yeah, we don't even talk about what we did this week because we talk about that on the pre-show.
Well, I mean, if it's Amiga related, we talk about it.
That's what I'm saying. It's all got to change.
So what's the new format?
The new format, we just go right into it. Whatever we want to do. Yeah.
Okay, so what do you want to do?
Okay, so let's talk about Amigo Studios East.
Okay, what do you want to know?
So if you are a recent convert to the Amigos and
take penicillin
and you don't know what this is, Aaron, why don't you give us a quick background on what Amigo Studios East is?
A very quick summary of Amigo Studios East, aka my backyard building. My brother and I have had an arcade in his basement for many moons, I hear. Because about, 6 years ago, we didn't get to go down to Brent's much more. We all stopped kind of hanging out because Brent became a family man, and I had the family thing going. And so we hadn't gotten down to the arcade that much, and Brent didn't do much of a fool with it. Well, he came to me at the beginning of the year and said, listen, the arcade's got to go. My son is an art major, a successful one, I might add, and he needs the space. Down here, he's going to move in, do a bunch of art. He's going to do a bunch of welding. You know, make some porcelain, which I don't know how you make that stuff, but apparently you can concoct a bunch of it in a bucket.
Requires heat, I think.
And all these games have got to go. Well, we're going to sell every one of these. I was like, hold the phone, Point Dexter. I don't want to sell him games. He can't get them no more. I said it that exact way. And so we had the idea to get a building for my backyard. And then I thought, well, hell's bells. Let's put all the arcade games in there, and then maybe we could even shoot some shows out of there, because this is about the same time that me and Bo just started doing the Amigo Arcade Adventures. And Bo was, like, licking his chops, and so we decided, hell, we'll shoot some shows in here. Call it Amiga Studios East. We could shoot some shows there. We could shoot some shows here. It'll be a nice switch-up. And as of right now, the building is nearing some level of usability. We have ran the electricity to it, and just last night I finished placing the last couple games. We've got one more game to move, which we plan on moving in tomorrow, which is Galaga, I might add. And then I will have all the machines in, and we can begin the decoration and we need to add some extra plugs. There's still a few things left to go, but we're in the home stretch. This week's been a pretty slow week, but I suspect that this weekend we will get the majority of what's left. We've got Mr. and Mrs. Pac-Man, which is a cute little pinball game. We've got Coney Island, which is a real kind of a rare game by a company that only made a few pinball machines. Then we've got the two big dogs. We've got WWF Royal Rumble, which is a great game. If you're a wrestling fan, it's also an underrated game as a pinball machine. It's a lot of fun. And then we have Brent's game, which suddenly I can't remember the name of. Help me out here, Boat. Who Done It?
Right.
Who Done It? Which is Brent's pick. It's probably our most valuable game, and it's pretty popular. Again, it was a limited run. Then video game wise, we've got a Donkey Kong, a Galaga. We've got my MAME cabinet, and we've also got a crane game in there as well. Did I leave anything out?
I think that's everything. So what did not make the cut?
Hard drive and didn't make the cut for logistical and size reasons.
It's also broken, isn't it?
It works sometimes, but it's led a rough life. And if you've ever opened a hard drive, and I know this isn't the arcade show, but just for a little snippet behind the curtain, there's a sprocket and pulley system in this that looks like it was devised by someone on Gilligan's Island. I mean, it's insanity. And I'm not ready to get into the mechanics of this stuff. We're also not making the cut was our golf game. What's the name of that crazy golf game I've got? I can't remember the name of it, but it's a real fun game. But right now it needs a new hard drive in it. But we'll probably fix it up, and it's a good game. Brent's going to keep it. Also not making the cut are Brent's many stupid ticket games, which I didn't want to make the cut because I don't like them. I didn't take any slot machines. We have 2 slot machines that didn't make the cut. Our quarter pusher didn't make the cut. Unfortunately, our Xbox kiosk didn't make the cut, although I would love to have that over there. I like the way things are now, and I just don't see where we can put it. But that's pretty much and our big MAME cabinet didn't make the cut, but Brent's going to keep at least some of that as well. So, but yeah, I'm going to have plenty of room for my consoles in there as well, and I was just thinking about decorations and stuff for it today. So we're looking forward to getting it done.
Yeah, and once everything gets moved in and we get everything powered up, we're going to start hopefully taping some episodes over there and definitely making some more episodes of Amigos Arcade Adventures.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. One thing it's going to give us a chance to do, since I'll have my console stuff over there, we'll be able to play Amiga versus console stuff straight out of the real item right there, and that'll be a lot of fun. It should be good, and I'm sure I'll have some pinball tournaments and some parties over there too. We'll film some stuff from that. So,
awesome! I can't wait.
Yeah, me either.
We got another big event coming up 1 week from Saturday. You're tapping my leg.
Drop my volume.
I already did it. I did it like 10 minutes ago when it popped on the chat.
Oh my gosh! I'm sorry. Drop my volume again. Just turn it down. What happens a week from Sunday?
A week from Saturday, Aaron, we will be in this basement, but not seated here. We'll be sitting on very comfortable couches in front of the massive TV screen over there. It's not a massive screen, it's about, but we'll be playing Amiga for 12 hours. Amigathon 2017, folks, it's happening. If you check out our, there's many ways that you can keep up to date with what's going on. The best way to do it is if you go to justgiving.com and then search for, I don't know how you get there.
It's linked off our page.
Yeah, if you just go to everythingamiga.com and then click on the When You Wish Upon Amiga, is that what Dreamcatch's post is called? I don't know.
Adjust my volume.
Anyway,
if you can find it, it's going to be awesome.
It's going to be awesome.
No, it's linked off our page. It's on our Facebook page. It's on the Google Plus page. Yeah. You cannot miss this link.
Yeah. And anyway, it leads to a Just Giving page, and you can check out what our schedule is. We're pretty much letting you, the donators, decide the schedule. For every pound that you donate, every British pound sterling or whatever
that's right.
Yeah, that you donate, we will play 1 minute of an Amiga game of your choice. So right now we've got about 3 hours spoken for of our
That's
12-hour
crazy.
marathon.
That's
yeah.
amazing. We've already got pre-orders.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
are we playing anything good, or are they going to hose us?
There's lots of good stuff. Most
Okay,
most
good.
of the stuff there I really enjoy. So
it's not a lot of first-person pinball or
not
Super
a lot.
C?
However, if you want to watch us suffer and play,
No.
if you want to watch us play 3 hours of first-person pinball,
Oh man, how much you have to donate to cancel the first event?
then check it out. If you I don't even know what I was going to say. That's my problem with reading the chat while I'm trying to talk. You shouldn't do that.
Don't look at me. Whenever I read it, you yell at me.
I know. So anyway, it's going to be awesome. We're going to have special guests. Aaron's family is going to drop by. Brent will be here. Chad, John Marshall from episode 100 will hopefully make an appearance. So we're going to have multiple people rotating in and out of the couches.
Special secret guest. It'll be even we don't know who's
Yeah,
coming.
they'll be. It's not going to be.
Rotating in and
It's
out.
not going to be all Amiga all the time. Aaron's going to bring his multitude of systems and consoles and things.
It's gonna be mostly Amiga.
But it's going to be mostly Amiga. But it's going to be a great time. We're going to have tons of snacks.
Good.
I'm mostly excited about the snacks.
Booze of some sort.
Yes, most likely.
You'll be on
especially
a
in
short.
the-
We'll be watching you.
Yeah, I don't want to overdo it. I got to man the battle station here, but it's going to be a great time. Amigathon 2017. Tweet it out. Again, if you can't find the link, just go back in our Twitter and just look at our last couple tweets, and I've got it on there. I've got the link to it, and of course I'll be tweeting it out as we count down to the event itself. Hashtag Amigathon 2017. It's a happening.
When you first told me about this, I was very nervous, and I thought to myself, "Good God!" I was like, a 12-hour run and to raise money, and honestly, I thought, I don't know if we're gonna even make a dime. And also, I was like, 12 hours, that's gonna be wacky, But the closer we get to it, the more excited I am about it. And if for any reason, I cannot remember the last time I had 12 hours to do nothing but sit and play Amiga games. And I'm very excited just to sit around and play a bunch of games. Sit on the couch, be a bum, play some games, raise a couple bucks. It's sort of making my wish come true just by sitting around and doing it. It's charity. Hey, it's a great thing, and if you want to give a little, you can. If you want to give a lot, you can. It's for a great cause.
Oh, and I should actually announce what that cause is. So we'll be benefiting the Make-A-Wish Foundation in the UK. So Make-A-Wish is a charity that tries to grant the wishes of terminally ill children so they can spend their last days on Earth doing what they want to do.
Yeah, I'm quite familiar with the American version, Make-A-Wish. They a lot of wrestlers work it, so it comes up quite a bit. And hey, it's a great outfit. And if you read was it Dreamcatcher's article today, which it was just I'd never heard that tale about the kid who wanted the comedy or the comic pack or whatever for the Amiga, and it was actually quite touching, and that's where the whole thing sort of came up. It's a good thing. Make-A-Wish, it's a reputable.
Yeah, and that's not all. Starting on July 7th. Speaking of Dreamcatcher,
Yep.
not July 7th, August 7th. He is going to be writing.
Not June?
No, not June. He's going to be writing a review a day for a week. So from June 7th to 14th, and then right in the middle of that, well, not really right in the middle, but towards the end of the middle-ish part, will be Amigathon 2017. And so it's a real team effort on, from the whole crew and everything Amiga. I think some of the other guys are going to be jumping on the Amiga Live emulator and maybe doing some multiplayer stuff with us.
That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, Jason and I tried that out, and it worked like a charm. So it's going to be a really fun time.
The good thing about a 12-hour marathon, you can just kind of, we're starting it early here, so 10 o'clock a.m. here is, what is that over in the UK, about 2?
Mm-hmm.
So, hey, if you're like me, on the weekends, I stay up real late. You can just kind of check in with us occasionally. If you're up at midnight and you're like, I wonder what those goose in America are doing. Hey, the goose will be rolling. We'll be still cooking. So, just check in, hang out with us. Hey, even if you can't give a dime, You just want to stop in and say, hey, hey, I dig it. I understand how it's tough times out there, but we'd love to have anyone that wants to come in
we
and
appreciate
check
the
it out.
support. Just, we're going to be doing this for 12 hours, and we'd love for you to check in and say hello.
Yeah.
We'll have, one of us will be monitoring the chat at all times.
Mostly boat.
The great thing about this event is that we'll have so many players that, we'll be able to concentrate on, one person will be playing, maybe another person will be watching the chat, one person will be doing a silly dance.
Yeah.
So
we're going to bring the stock Amiga over and get some classic unemulated Amiga action going at least for some of it. We'll probably. I was telling Bo, this gives us an opportunity to try a couple of different mediums for the Amiga. I'm going to bring the Pi over. We might even hook the old Xbox up and try some stuff on that. It'll be neat to see how the differences and whatnot and some of the stuff. So we're going to use this as an experiment.
yeah,
as well.
I'm really, really pumped to get the stock Amiga going again.
Oh, it's working
And,
great.
Yeah, I know that you've worked a miracle on it. You've done things that no man's ever done to an
I don't
Amiga.
know about that.
And-
We're really getting out there. Oh, now you praise me. Too late now, pal. But it's going to be great. It's going to be happening. I've never been a part of something like that, so it's another first for me. So I'm
it's
excited
a
about
first for me too. I haven't done. I don't know that I've ever played video games for 12 hours straight.
No.
Now, what about when you were in your City of Heroes days back on the mountain?
12 hours straight. Probably 8. Now EverQuest, I don't know, it's possible. But the thing is, there's a fine line between charity raising fun effort and like human vegetable.
Sad existence.
Yeah, and I not only did I cross that line, I spat upon it as I rolled over. So I can tell you right now. But yeah, it's gonna be great, and I'm glad it was suggested, and it's been organized, but again, most of the time I just show up and do the gig.
And we're going to have stretch goals too. So whenever we start the marathon, we'll say if we get to this amount of money by this time, we'll do a bonus thing.
It's like PBS.
Yeah.
You get a tote bag.
You won't get a tote bag, but we'll do. We'll have. So say that you want to say, I don't know, just looking at Daz over in the chat right now. He's talking about Alien versus Predator on Jaguar. Maybe we'll say, if we get to this amount of money, we'll have a special, Jaguar block.
Also, maybe we should do something like if we get to a certain amount of money, I get to like hit you in the face with a pie.
Hey,
or like club you.
I'm open to anything for charity.
I don't like the sound of that.
Well, I don't
I'm
like.
not. I'm bloody well not.
You can hit me in the face with a pie. I didn't hear the part about the club until after the words were coming
I've been
out of
hit in
my
the
mouth.
face with a pie.
Have you?
Yeah.
When was that?
My buddy's birthday came up, and my buddy was real depressed. And I said, listen, and I ravaged this guy all the time verbally, just nonstop. I just kill him. And so, I was like, I beat you down all year, so it's only fair that I let you hit me in the face with this coconut cream pie. And he did, and he enjoyed it.
Was it painful?
It was unique. I had hair back then, so it would be a lot easier now without hair. You just kind of eat it, wipe it off.
Well, here's the thing, guys. If we raise, I'm throwing it down right now, if we can raise 1,000 pounds by the end of the fundraiser, then I will hit Aaron in the face with a pie.
Wait, what the hell?
No, I'm just kidding.
If we raise 200 pounds, I'll hit both. It'll work out great.
Well, let's just say we'll have pies on hand.
I wish I hadn't brought this up now in retrospect.
This is a great idea. I can't wait to see you picking coconut cream pie out of your beard.
Oh, I forgot about the beard. Well, you got a point there.
So, there'll be much more. I guess we'll have
Just
one more
think
show.
12 hours of this.
Yeah, if you like this,
They'll pay us to stop.
yeah. But we'll report more. We'll report back next week. We've got one more episode to tape before Amigathon, and give you any updates. We've already raised 125 pounds. Thank you so much to all of you who have donated. And for those of you that are on the fence, just do it. It's for a great cause.
I was very touched to already get some orders in. It was great. My buddy at work was stunned when I told him that. I was like, "Hey, we're doing something for charity," and he was like, "Yeah, good luck." I was like,
Is he the penguin? You work with the penguin?
Good luck, Batman. No, and I was like, "We already raised over 100 pounds." He's like, "What?" And I had explained why we were raising pounds. That was a whole other story. But yes, it'll be great.
Yeah.
Don't just let my story peter out. You're supposed to jump in right there.
Well, let's jump right in with the Amiga news for this week, Aaron.
Well, it's pickings is slim.
Uh-oh.
Let's talk more about pies.
Pie news is always
I'll let
applicable.
you get your gimmick in after I'm done. Really, there was only one thing that caught my eye this week. And of course, there was another. I saw a couple demos of games in progress. I didn't see anything I thought was worthy of report on, but I think there's some stuff coming down the pipe. Usually this stuff happens in the summer. It gets kind of
It's kind of a lull.
yeah, and then it goes up. I also heard something about the fellow that was making the Vampire had officially slammed the door on it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't verify this because I'm not in contact with the fella. I just read it on a site. And apparently, just from what I read, and it was very similar to something I read a while back, where I thought he was in. Remember, we announced the death of Vampire before, but it's a vampire. You can't kill it, right? But apparently, they had another bad run of cards or whatever, and he just took a bath. It's tough. I'll tell you, when you're an independent card manufacturer out there, I can tell you from being in the business of making PCBs back in the day, if Lexmark printer manufacturer runs a bad line of cards, that's okay. We make our own cards, right? But when you're having them made by a factory and they come in and they're jacked up and you can't sell them, you're boned. You're eating that cost because the people that made it ain't going to eat it. They don't give a crap. So, I'll tell you, for all you people out there that are doing that sort of work, more power to you. I mean, I know it's a thankless job. Everybody's pissed off all the time. We haven't covered the Vampire much in the past 6 months or 8 months because I was hot and heavy into it back when it was first announced. And I know I've seen people that have them. They look great and they're having a good time with them. I'm happy with what I've got, to be completely honest with you. And if I had a Vampire, I would take it. But that much said, I'm not jonesing for it anymore. And the news hasn't been that hot and heavy. I mean, there are always updates for them, and they're getting a little bit better each time. So it's a nice thing. It's sad if it goes away. But if you've got one, you're in good shape. And if you got one coming, cross your fingers. And if I hear anything more concrete on it, I'll report back on it. But yeah, you never know.
Okay.
So that aside, the one wacky thing I saw, and I think somebody sent this over to me, was all of a sudden this week. It was on. I know where I read it. It was Indie Retro News, of course. So there's a new Steam item, and it is a collection of Amiga and C64 games and little remixes of the games, and it's on Steam, right? In fact, Boat's got to pull it up here. Read those games off there, Boat.
So there's Jump Boy remake. These are the remakes. There's Jump Boy, Drop Sector, Pit Start, Karate, River Attack, and Seawolf 3.
Now, I don't know anyone that's tried this yet. I see Jumpman is in there at the top there. It looks like, is that pole position or something?
Yeah, I think it's sort of a pole position knockoff.
So, hey, it's awesome that you're getting some action out there. But wow, this game, I don't know, I just saw this pop up. I was like, brr.
Yeah.
So that might be cool, you know.
Now this is
Karate is obviously we very similar, or maybe was the predecessor to what we played, IK Plus.
I guess it's not being released until August 10th. But hey, if it's cheap, I might check it out because
it looks pretty good. Doesn't it?
I'm all about sort of like up-res, old school kind of gameplay, and this looks like something I might be interested in. This is kind of like you said, it's IK Plus, but with the different backgrounds and everything.
I think this was just I don't know what exactly the IK. The way those games unfolded, I'm not exactly sure what their order was.
Right.
And they had different names, and they had different names in this country too. But maybe it was just called Karate. And I guess that was the C64 Amiga version we're looking at there. I'm not even sure. Did you know? It's funny when these games come out. I remember when I just got the Wii, they were like, "Yeah, Jump Boy." Okay. That looks a lot like Jumpman.
Well, yeah. So all of these games, I think, are sort of clones of.
Is that what we're doing here? Yeah. Look at those bullets. When I first got my Wii, I was reading somewhere. They're like, yeah, the people in Europe got their virtual arcade had Commodore games. Did you know that?
No.
And they did. I obtained them, and sure enough, here were Commodore 64 games on the Wii of all things. That was really weird. So that said Epix too.
Yeah, so I guess Epix is the publisher of this, and so this is.
Oh, Boat! Look at that.
Yeah,
it's kind of River Raid clone.
So yeah, this looks great. Actually, I mean that's moving fast.
Yeah. For people in radio land, we're kind of having a look at these, and they look interesting. Again, I'm not 100% sure what we're looking at here. I'm not a C64 guy in a newsflash, and so maybe these were known clones on the C64 that we just don't know about.
Right.
But that scrolling is pretty bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll keep up to date on this one. When's it due? August 10th. We may have. Does it have a price in there, Bo?
No price yet. So
if it's like $5 or something, I'd be down with the clown. I might give it a shot.
let's see if they've got. I'm gonna open it up in Steam here, and well, when we come back to it, when Steam launches, I'll come back and we'll get a quick update on whether there's a price.
Now, Bo, you posted something on the Google Plus this week. What was that? What was that all about?
Yeah, so we were just talking about how the Amiga had all this power to do these great arcade conversions like Rainbow Islands and games like that. And I said, boy, it's a real shame that we never got a Nintendo version, or an Amiga port of Mario Brothers.
Great game.
And lo and behold, Indie Retro News comes out with an Amiga port of the Mario Brothers. But it's kind of funny. It's the Amiga port of the Atari XE version of Mario Brothers.
Yeah, really? Is that
Yeah.
what it's ported for? So someone, because it says unreleased. That's why.
Oh, let's see here.
Who was making this? Does it say in the article who was actually making it? Because that does look a lot like the Atari version.
Yeah,
Now, you've played the XE version probably 100 million times.
There's not a. It says. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, I misread that. It says that really the best home arcade version is on the Atari XE, which I concur. I have it. I have one. I have it. Probably one of the rarest games I own is I have the Gray Kart XEGS version of Mario Brothers, which is different than the other Atari 8-bit version of Mario Brothers.
I will say I have this game for the 7800, and it's quite good. The 7800 version of Donkey Kong is quite good too, and Donkey Kong Jr. The 7800, that's 3 of its better games, in my opinion.
But anyway, this says that it was created in 1993 by Thomas Argamos Jensen, and it's that no dump of the game has ever been found, but there is some footage that's been provided on Indie Retro News. So if you're interested in seeing that, check it out.
Oh, it's a real bummer. Man.
Yeah.
I was hoping to get some action.
Maybe one day it will be found and be released, but
it looks okay.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing about it is, again, it's way under what the Amiga could do.
Right. I mean, the Amiga could pretty much do this pixel perfect, but this is probably a one-man show, and he's doing the best he can.
Unofficial. Someone was doing a clone. I mean, it's too bad. It looks slow. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But still, it kind of neat, and it probably wasn't completely finished. You probably hadn't tweaked it to where it would go a little bit quicker. But yeah,
exactly.
That's pretty interesting. News-wise, though, that's pretty much the long and short of it, man. What do you got for site updates, Bo?
Okay, well, we have some different things. One is if you go over to our TeePublic site, if I can brazenly exploit our show, we have a new poster. We have a new poster up. The first 100 episodes Amiga poster.
I want that for the arcade, Bo.
Yeah, well, you will be getting one because I ordered one for you.
What a pain.
But you can get this. This is actually like a screen cap of every single one of these episodes, all 100. So check that out. Very cheap at $10.
You can throw darts at it and then tell us which game to play.
That's true.
You can get it just in time for the marathon. You can just get you some darts and ruin it.
In other crafting news, Dreamcatcher has been busy.
That's something you don't hear often.
Dreamcatcher had some free time in the afternoon, and so he took some old clock parts and crafted these different clocks. So there's a cannon fodder clock there, Simpsons, some kind of a Chibi Street Fighter.
Was that? Oh wait, go back up.
Is Michael
Jackson?
Yep. There's a Rainbow Islands clock,
That's
a James
my favorite,
Pond
the
clock,
James
of
Pond.
course. A Sensible Soccer. So if you're at all interested in purchasing these limited edition clocks from Dreamcatcher, hit him up on our forums.
He's selling these clocks?
I don't know if he's selling them or not, but
Are you just making all this up?
I'm making all this up. This might be his new business. This might
Professional clock maker?
Professional clockmaker. I think an hourologist is the correct term for that.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
You just made that up, didn't you?
Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. Next is Dreamcatcher again. The top 106 shortest/worst value Amiga games ever.
This was great.
Yeah.
I looked up all my favorites to see what.
There's quite a few in here that we've played before.
I know.
It's amazing. New York Warriors. It's amazing how many of these can be completed. Now, This is just a
Obviously,
tiny
these
bit.
people are better than us.
Yeah, this is just a tiny bit misleading because it's not like you can pop these games in for the first time and beat them at this amount. These are like world
Yeah, like
record
Moonstone.
times. Yeah.
I mean, who's going to beat that quick? Good Lord. I saw Zany golf. There's a lot of these I was like, this is baffling.
Right.
Who
So
is this guy?
these are kind of the world records for each of these games.
And
so-
Dragon Slayer, it takes that long just to get into the first disc.
Yeah, I don't think that this accounts for disc swapping, or else we'd be in a whole different
Oh
sort
my
of
gosh,
deal.
yeah. That's where the value lies.
Yeah.
The Amiga gameplay. It's like this game provides 200 hours of gameplay. It's like, well, 175 or just swap.
Right. And then he writes up Protector, which is the one that won. You can be beaten in a minute 30. So.
Congratulations.
Yeah, Dreamcatcher, you've done it again with just another great zany article. And then finally, we've got When You Wish Upon Amiga, which is, we just talked about it on the Amigathon. This is the backstory about the kid that had cancer, and they delivered an Amiga 500 or Amiga 1200, the comic relief pack, to his house, and he was able to spend his last days playing Amiga and really enjoying himself. And that was sort of the inspiration for the both Dreamcatcher's review marathon and Amigathon 2017.
One thing you also should mention is that he just revamped his awesome James Pond article.
Oh, yeah.
And this is one thing about Amiga articles is these things are timeless. Like, really, we should just go through and repost some of them. And this is, he went through and redid all the graphics in the story and something. This was this the first thing he ever did for us?
I think so. I think this was the very first article that Dreamcatcher ever wrote on our site.
Folks like, check this out. This guy's amazing. And I was like, oh, what the heck is James Pond? And it's the most ridiculous article I've ever seen in terms of the detail and the amount of time. And I didn't realize this was just going to be the par for the course.
Right.
Like, he doesn't do anything marginally.
No, Dreamcatcher, he's
the
all
exact
in all the
opposite of
time.
me.
And me as well. All right, so that's the site updates for this week. What do you say we jump right into our game?
Don't
Sleep.
say jump or kick to me.
Sleepwalker. So
Sleepwalker. Let's talk about this weird, wacky game.
okay.
So, let's get the particulars out of the way first. Sleepwalker. It got released in '93. It came on 4 discs, or also there was a CD32 version. There was a ECS OCS version. There was a HEA version. There was a CD32 version. They covered all the bases with this game. It was done by an outfit called CTA, which I'll get into them in a moment. It was published by Ocean, a one-player game. And the premise of this game is unique among any game I've ever played. I will give the guys credit for some things. It was coded by a fellow named John Scott. John Scott, sort of an interesting cat.
Isn't he in AC/DC?
No, that's Bon Scott. John Scott was behind the games Laser Squad, a Rogue Trooper, J-Con's World Championship Squash.
Wow,
And I
that is a
shortened
must
J,
play.
Because I'm assuming this is a famous squash player. His name was like Jamiroquai Squash. I was like, holy crap.
Wouldn't it be great if it was Jamiroquai Scott
Well, it wasn't.
playing in that hat?
His name is Khan. Khan! That's what he screams every time he wins at squash. I will say the rest of the people that worked this, and I'll just go over because there's not that many. The graphics guys were Nick Harding and Richard Cheek, and the same 2 guys also did the music. These guys never did anything else on the Amiga. The only one that did anything else was this guy, John Scott. So as I usually do, I thought because I'd never heard of this outfit either. Have you ever heard of this CTA?
No, of course I've heard of Ocean that published it.
Well, yeah. So these guys did not do a whole lot of stuff for the Amiga. They did other things though. They did Eek the Cat, which we'll get to, and they also did a game called their last game, ironically, called Cheesy. Okay, Cheesy was a PlayStation game. They were not around all that long, but It's funny. I was researching this guy Scott. I was always like to look at the people that made the game to see what they'd done or if they have any things to talk about with the in terms of the game. I actually found this guy's LinkedIn account.
Oh,
well, it was kind of neat.
Let the stalking begin.
Yes, exactly. this guy was on a team of 4 and did these he worked on several platforms. He did Spectrum stuff and Amstrad, but most of what he did was on the Commodore back in the day. So get this. This is what I found interesting about this cat. So CTA went down. They were down quick. All right. The last game they did was cheesy. This guy went on to work for an outfit called Ravensoft, if you remember them. They did Heretic.
Okay.
And he was involved with them. He was a tech programmer, a senior tech programmer. Then he went to work. That's not good enough. He went to work for Epic. And he was the senior engine programmer there, and he was the owner of the audio system for the Unreal 3 engine.
Wow.
So it wasn't. He was a big time programmer, and he currently works on. He does stuff with the Unreal 4 engine. So he had some action back in the day. So this game was. We can't really get into this game until we talk about the comic relief thing. Now, Bo, do you know much about that? The comic relief thing they do every couple years in the UK.
So my understanding, and most of my understanding comes from the episode of The British Office where they talk about the comic relief. But I guess it's sort of a like an all-star stand-up comedy review that benefits charity.
Mm-hmm. You're right. And every couple of years they do some nutty stuff to raise money. And I think the charity is like to go to children overseas or something like that is their thing. And their symbol is sort of a red nose, like a clown nose. Mm-hmm. I think you can even buy these and contribute.
They tried that here last year. Do you remember that? It was earlier this summer.
I don't.
The Walgreens, they had you put your nose on, you buy a plastic nose, and then you're doing something for charity.
Yeah, I do vaguely recall.
Do you recall that? It was all over NBC. It was all over a Ninja Warrior.
How'd it do?
Well, everybody on TV was wearing a red nose that day.
Oh, well,
so some factory in China that's churning out these red noses is real happy.
So this game has a lot of references to. Now, apparently there are multiple versions of this game on the Amiga, aside from the ones that I told you about. I guess there's some that they've taken some of the comic relief stuff out. Okay. There's lots of references like tomatoes in here. You could pick up like kind of comedy stuff. There's a beard, and I think you can pick up a nose, some other stuff. And it says that one of the voices in the game, actually it's the dog's voice, is a fellow named Lenny Henry, which I'll be honest with you, I don't know who that is.
No.
Maybe if I saw him, I'd know him. But apparently he has something to do with the charity. So this game was released in what was called the Comic Relief Bundle, right? They had all kinds of awesome bundles. We didn't get Jack every year.
Yeah. The UK was the bundle king.
So this bundle was pretty good, if you hear what's in it. So you get it launched in 1993, and it was basically 400 pounds, right? Which I don't know what that translates today, but that's probably about right. You get a 2 meg A1200 with a floppy drive, but that's for 400 pounds. If you want to pay 600 pounds, you could have the same unit, but you'd get a 2.5 inch 85 meg IDE drive, which was whopping huge back in the day. 200 pounds, what a deal. And you also got a special comic relief edition of Amiga format magazine, which I actually looked through. And you also get this game.
Now, were the hard drives, I can't picture that, were they sidecar sort of deals?
The Amiga 1200, as you'll recall, has an internal IDE. And so where I've got, in mine, I've got the compact flash drive. This was just my original Amiga 1200, I just had a 2.5 inch hard drive in it. I can't remember how big it was, probably about that size. For $600, you got to think $600 in '93. That was probably a pretty hefty chunk of change. But apparently these packs sold well. Some of the money that went from these packs went to charity, and also a portion of the money that this game generated went to charity. Some accounts say it was all the money, but I find that hard to believe. I would say it was some of the money.
Yeah.
In fact, the box says some, the wiki says all. I'm going to go with the box. I doubt they're going to give every bit of the money to charity on this, but you never know. So there you go. Oh, one last thing. This got a few ports, which we'll talk about. It was ported to the ST, of course. The C64, which I have to say I was surprised. I didn't get to look at that one, but we look at that.
Yeah.
We'll look at that later. And the PC, which I actually had a chance to play. And then there's sort of a quasi port that went to the Super Nintendo, which we'll get into that later. So, Boat, what do you think? How do you think is the best way to describe this game?
This is a game that's based upon what's come to be known as escort. It's like a one big escort mission.
It's funny. I never thought about that word, but yeah, I guess you're right. I never thought about that.
You play a dog. You control a dog, sort of an anthropomorphic beast that walks on its hind legs.
Anthropomorphic beast. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Carry on.
I don't know. When I look at that,
I was thinking cartoon dog, but it shows you our mentality.
Yeah.
Anthropomorphic beast. That's a much more detailed description.
And your owner, I guess, is a boy, and the boy.
Good guess. Good guess, Boat.
They're sleeping in the same room, so
Yeah.
it's
It's Lee and Ralph.
okay.
Lee the boy, Ralph the dog.
And so your boy sleepwalks, and so your job is to protect your boy from damage. Now, for some reason, if the boy wakes up, it's all over.
You've heard the old saying that if you wake a sleepwalker, they'll screw him up. You ever heard that?
Never heard that.
Have you ever sleptwalked in your life?
Don't think so.
I have. I used to suffer from sleepwalking.
Did you ever get woken up?
Yeah. Well, I remember.
Well, that explains
I know.
it.
I never
Oh.
did. Oh, take off. But like one time, I'll give you an example. This is a sidebar, but it's pertinent to this game. I used to sleepwalk, and one time my mom said they found me in the basement. I'd walk down the stairs of my old house, and one time, and this was when I was in like high school, I woke up in my backseat of our car.
Wow.
And I thought to myself, I remember as I woke up, I kept thinking, boy, they're going to be surprised. And then I woke up and I was like, what in the hell am I doing here? My buddy Neil, who has a Frankenstein-like build, he used to sleepwalk naked around his neighborhood.
That's
Yeah,
frightening.
live with that.
Yeah.
So carry on.
Now, boy, just after that story, I don't know how to continue. So the game is basically you've got this very, very large environment in which you're walking around with, and you're trying to negotiate your boy to the exit. You do this by one of two actions, basically. You're either behind the boy, pushing him and getting to where you can actually kick him so he can, go to higher levels, or you are in front of the boy trying to hold him back as he steps away from doom. So that's basically the controls of the game. You have up is jumps your dog. If you press the button, the dog will either whack things with a club or kick the boy, depending on what he's doing. The controls, well, I don't want to talk about what we think of the game yet. The controls are, they're very basic. I will say that they're adequate for what you are tasked to do, whether they're well implemented or not. You have all the tools at your disposal that you need to get your boy to the end.
Allegedly. So, if I may,
Go ahead.
The meat of this game is you're trying to get your boy, as Boat's calling him.
What would you call him?
Your master would be a better way to put it, I think.
I'm not comfortable with that.
Because when I say I'm taking my boy out, it seems a little weird to me. But that much said, that's a good apt description, your boy. So your boy is a sleepwalking idiot. And so
you're not you
no
don't want to call him boy, but you have no trouble calling him an idiot.
You ever notice no one ever sleepwalks in like an empty field or down a gentle slope. They're always in like construction sites and crap. And your boy's no different.
Constant peril.
So the first screen starts out on like basically like rooftops, and so if you don't watch it, the kid will, plummet. He will run over things that hurt him. Your boy can take a goodly amount of damage. Basically, there's a bar at the top, like Boat said, and it tells you how much asleep your guy is effectively. Sort of like a life bar. And if the boy wakes up, you lose. If the boy gets hurt, you lose. There are some places that, like, for example, the boy can fall off a building. No problem. He'll lose some of his sleep bar, but he's good to go. Just keeps on trotting, all right? If he falls in the water, you're done. If he lands on, like, certain obstacles, you're done, like fire, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It'll take care of you. So your object is, like Boat said, to push, pull, kick this kid around. If, like, for example, and there's other things the dog does, and they're very clever. Like, he'll walk across the bridge, and the bridge will break right in the middle, and so the dog, in a very cartoon way, sort of grabs both sides of the bridge, and the boy just walks over him, stuff like that. There are parts of this where the dog inflates himself like a balloon. He does a bunch of crazy stuff to try to keep this kid from hurting himself. The actual, what drew me to this game was just the concept sounded like a lot of fun. I'm a big fan of the cartoons. We've went into that. We've had many a discussion on cartoons. And so I like cartoons, and this is right out of like an old Tom and Jerry or a Bugs Bunny.
Mm-hmm. But you weren't crazy about the art style in this.
I wasn't. This game opens with a like an animated scene with dialogue from the dog. It's almost like an internal monologue, I think, from the dog. And I didn't like the way the kid has no nose. That's always weird to me. And it's funny, the kid doesn't look really like he does in the game. The dog is just as generic a dog. And I will say this carries over into the game. We were talking, again, we're going to go back to, I'm trying to think of characters we've played on the Amiga that had a lot of character to them. Super Frog, whether you like the game or not, had character. Zool had character. Like Lionheart had character. Don't say it. Bonk, BC Kid, he had character. This dog has some character, but he's just drawn kind of generically. They don't give him a lot of, you'd think you could have done more with the dog, in my opinion. And the kid, it just doesn't do anything but walk around sleeping. Now, it's funny to kick the kid. It's kind of funny to watch him fall. His nightshirt kind of flies up as he plummets, But there could have been a little more. I would like to have heard like wackier sound effects, like more cartoony stuff. Like, you remember in Zool and Super Frog, they always had these crazy. Remember the theme from Zool? Was that awesome? Had all those crazy sound effects.
It's been so long. We'll have to play that on.
Well,
the
I thought that was cool. And this game kind of doesn't have. You think for a comedy game there'd be a little more comedy. It's still pretty funny. Don't get me wrong, but I was looking for a little bit more. And the art style and the cutscenes I didn't dig. There, enough said there. So this game has a bunch of different levels, but the levels are huge. They're big enough to require a map. They're massive levels. I think there are 6, and each level has like a bunch of sub-levels. So we'll get to the first problem I have with this game. One of the things that plagues this game, they should have taken a note from a game, say like Lemmings or something. The first couple levels should be quick levels that are easy, or Lost Vikings, another one. And you can get through them so you can get an idea of what the hell you're doing. All right, this game really doesn't. There's no like time to figure it out. It gets hard, like almost instantly. As soon as you're off that first rooftop, you're running around like a maniac, trying to stop this kid from mauling himself. And the action is fast and furious. This game is you have to have ultimate control over that dog to get the kid where you want to go. An example: there's a portion in the very beginning of the first level where you have to guide your boy to a point where he has to go across water on a barrel that floats by. And so you've got to shut some doors that will hurt him before you get there, and you have to hold him back until the barrel arrives. Then you have to let him go, and if you time it right, he'll walk on the barrel and he'll walk across the water to another point. All right. This is one of the Achilles heels of the game, is that a lot of the game is spent, as frantic as it is, a good chunk of the game is spent waiting for the boy to get somewhere, because it's too hard. If you push him too close to where you need to be, you got to think you've got to be in front of the boy, and you're pushing him, so you're behind him, which means you got to stop pushing him, jump over him, get in position. And you get to the point where like you've screwed up so many times that like you're scared to try to be that aggressive, And like when we were playing the playthrough, I was having a pretty good run, but I was getting too aggressive, and it makes you twitchy, panicky. And it's very difficult to stay ahead of the kid. Plus, you have to practically memorize the obstacles. It reminded me quite a bit of like a Dragon's Lair in some ways, because you have to know exactly what's coming, and you have to know exactly what you're supposed to do. There are some parts where you could kick the guy across, you could form your own, you could be the human bridge. Should you push the kid? Should you not push the kid? It can be very frustrating to figure that out. Now, on top of that, this is another game with up for jump. And I can't tell you how annoying this game is. One that should not have up. I know you don't have a choice, but up for jump, it makes it hard because you're running around so much, and the dog is so fast that it makes it you need that pinpoint control. And we'll get into we played the Super Nintendo version of this, which actually has a jump button, but that caused me to have other problems, which we'll get into later. The controls on this aren't bad as such. It's just it's so difficult that I guess the controls. Would you say the controls are good? I mean, they are, but they're not. I mean, whose fault is it? Is it the game's frantic pace, or is it the controls?
Okay,
fault?
well, I'll tell you some of the things that the game could have done better with the limitations that they already have. One is if they would have made down somehow make the boy automatically just pass in front of you. So if you need to go from in front of the boy to behind the
that
boy,
would have been great.
You don't have to jump. The second thing is
that's a good idea.
They should have made the kick action work when you don't have any forward momentum. So if you just stand in front of the boy and you press the button, nothing will happen. You have to actually be pressing the joystick in either right or left direction with the boy in front of you to make the kick occur. That makes it really difficult when you're trying to make sort of precision movements with the boy.
Yeah, you're right. And one of the problems I had and early on, and I'm sorry, folks, when I say this, I tried my best to get somewhere in this game, and I could get off the first level, with some regularity. Although it's hard to build consistency. It's another game which is tough to build consistency at. Now, it wasn't like Super C where the game was just broken. It's just extremely hard. But it was ridiculously difficult to get the boy, to where you wanted to go, especially when you, like Boat said, you had a precision jump. There are some jumps in this that are nasty, and when you miss them, you're screwed. And another thing about this game, much like I say a Dragon's Lair, is like when you die, it doesn't always start you at the beginning. Sometimes it starts you a little partially way through, but even partially a way through means you've got to go through a bunch of crap again, and it's very frustrating to go back through this puzzle stuff again because it's just so tedious. Here's another round of waiting for the kid to show up, and this game has the kind of setup, the kind of level design that if you make a mistake, even at the very end of the level, you could have to start completely over. The boy could just fall all the way down, and that is ultimately frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
It made me. I played this game 3 or 4 times during the week, and every time I played it, it ended the exact same way. Me getting mad, me punching the desk, screaming, being very angry. And I told Bo, normally I'm a pretty laid back guy, but this game really pissed me off, and it was a non-fun sort of pissed off. I mean, it's very frustrating and tedious, I guess would be the word I would use to describe it. And I can tell you, I really wanted to like this game. I like so much about it. Like I said, the concept is top shelf. The levels aren't horrible, but they're very tough.
Mm-hmm.
I wish there was a little more room for error, and at least early. I mean, the early levels are bad because you should be able to get enough time to figure out what you're doing.
Right. I also think, I understand thematically why the game had to start where it did. The kid jumps out of his window, so the first level is he's in the city. But the city is so drab and so bad looking when you compare it with the later levels, like the level that we're watching now on the video where they're in the jungle. And, with Eek the Cat, they start the game in this level, and I think it's for a reason. It's because there's the environment. There's a lot more things to interact with in the environment. The level seems easier. At least it was easier for me. This stuff like the giraffe, bumping off the head of the giraffe and stuff like that. I mean, it's cute. Those are cute touches that you don't get at all in that first level.
Well, I will say that not having the ability to play this game very far, I once again had to resort to watching someone else play it. And a lot of the levels are sort of a lot alike.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that as well. I mean, and a lot of the same, like I said, you get to the point where they introduce some new concepts for the dog, but a lot of the levels are a lot alike. Now, they do break up the levels with some bonus games, balloon. I mean, and I'm going to tell you, having not played the bonus game and having watched them, I looked at. Did you see the bonus game played? I had no idea what in God's name was happening.
And it didn't look easy either. It didn't look like a fun bonus game.
And it was long.
Yeah.
It's not like the bonus game where it takes like 15 seconds. You're like, oh, I got an extra man.
Right.
This was like I watched them play it, and I guess there's some funniness there, but I don't know what in the hell was going on.
Me neither.
I downloaded the instructions and read them, and I was just like, I don't know. I don't know what the hell that was. But they're in there. There's a bonus level. I think there's one after every major level you finish. But missed opportunity on this one.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see this game revisited. To be honest with you, this is another one. I think now before I go into what I'd like to see done to it, let's talk about the I guess I don't want to call it a sequel, but the remake, if you will. This game came out for the Super Nintendo. The same outfit, CTA Developments. They released this game for the Super Nintendo. However, it underwent a complete change. As it was now called, it was 1994, and it was released with an Eek the Cat license. Now, me and Boat talked about this earlier. I don't know jack squat about Eek the Cat, but I did find out that Eek the Cat was a Fox morning cartoon. Which is funny because I was watching Fox in the 90s because I used to watch the old Batman and I used to watch Spider-Man and X-Men. So I don't remember this. Honestly don't remember this particular show. But I mean, I remember it, but I never watched it. So I didn't know it was on Fox. So anyway, these guys said, "To hell with it. We'll slap a new license on it and see how we do." So they released the Super Nintendo version of it, Eek the Cat, and tweaked it. Now, it's not a port from the Amiga. It's not it doesn't look anything like the Amiga version. It's definitely a different platform. They use some of the power of the Super Nintendo. It looks okay. I mean, I thought it looked okay. They use multiple buttons, which is
right. So in the Super Nintendo version, B is jump and A is your kick/club thing.
Yeah. Now I'll tell you, I had not played this until we played it for the Amigos Plays video, and it was very discombobulating to have a jump button. It was driving me absolutely insane, and it made me stink at the game. But that much said, I was able to actually beat the first level on my third try.
Mm-hmm.
This game is more colorful. It's in the first level you're escorting an old woman, and I know I watched some video on this. I know on the last level you escort a walking present around, which I don't know what that means. Maybe it must be a show thing. Yeah. It's otherwise the gameplay is exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
You kick and block the old woman and do the same exact stuff. Like Boat said, they didn't start on the city. They started on like a jungle level, which is I think it's the second level in the Amiga version, and it's just as hard. I mean, it's eerily similar, isn't it? I mean, it should be, I guess, but in the Amiga version and the Super Nintendo versions play very, very much the same with the exact same, pains in the butt.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of this one?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because they did away with almost all of the elements of the HUD. There are things to collect in the Amiga version down there in the corner, and those don't exist. The only kind of bar that you get in the Super Nintendo version is your sleep bar.
Yeah. The music was pretty good.
Yeah,
it sounded a lot like, as Boat pointed out. Tell them what it sounded like.
So there's a reggae tune playing, and it sounds just like the Cannon Fodder theme. War has
we
never
were
been
singing
so much
along.
fun. Yeah. So and I think that on the whole, it's another kind of exemplar of when people developed for the Amiga, one team developed on the Amiga and then brought their game to a console. It seems like, and probably a lot of this has to do with this probably came out a little bit later. Do you have a date for
94?
Okay, so it's 2 years. 2 years afterwards, 1 year afterwards, they put in some things that they might have learned from other console developers, like actually having a tune playing in the background.
Well, again, the CD32 version I think does have Red Hat. What's it called? Red Hat. Sound,
Red Book audio.
Red Book. Thank you.
That just means the quality's better. I mean, I don't know. We'll have to see if we can find a playthrough.
Yeah, that's one thing. When we look at some of these games, like a lot of times they don't have the sound that they would have had if you had the disc. I looked at the AGA version, and mine didn't have any sort of music in it, so I don't know what that means, but
Did yours have the tune that played at the beginning?
it had that. Yeah.
Okay, so it might be.
And
maybe-
that tune was pretty good.
Yeah,
I like that.
I wish they would have just let that roll. But anyway, I think that Eek the Cat is a better game, but it's not only because it's, obviously Eek the Cat is not some awesome property, but maybe the developers just they had more to work with as far as the controls go. And
I think he's better than Ralph. He has more. I think he's got more personality than Ralph.
You're down on Ralph.
I'm not.
100%.
Well, I mean, of all the great cartoon dogs, and that's where we get Ralph.
Well, that's the problem. Is there's a lot to look up to with cartoon.
I will
dogs,
say I sympathize with Ralph. I want to take that kid and chuck him off a building myself, which didn't take much wanting because he was more than happy to just leap off.
Right. But I think it's a combination of having better controls and also learning maybe from their mistakes, or just learning about the programming of this kind of a game, that they were able to improve on some things. So I'm glad it exists. It's a neat thing where it's the same game but not the same game. But
now I played. I had a chance to sit down and play the PC version. Believe it or not. I was loafing around the net, and sure enough, there was a website out there that had you could play it on like a DOS box out of your browser. So I gave it a whirl, and it was identical to the Amiga version pretty much. I used the keyboard to play it, and I had just exactly as much success. so you can say what you want about it. I was surprised. I'm interested to see that C64 version. It definitely is the most different looking of the bunch.
Yeah, obviously, the color palette just isn't there on the C64. The sprite is smaller. The game seems to run just a little bit faster.
Oh God!
Than the
which
is not what you want in a game like this.
You notice the ST version of this, is we're looking at a comparison. It's got like a god sky in the background. That's what it looks like.
Yeah,
doesn't it?
it's very like a weird combination sunrise and sunset. I don't know. But anyway, the ports that I didn't see the DOS version, or I would have pulled that out too. But
it looks a lot like the Amiga version.
Yeah,
so.
the ST version and the Amiga version look pretty much the same. The ST version actually, I think, looks slightly better. It's a little bit more colorful. But
the sky is anyway.
But in the life bar, the sleep bar is different.
The game is
colorful,
the Amiga version is very brown.
Yeah,
I mean, and even not on pretty much every level, there's a lot of brown.
And that's that could be a fun. That's not necessarily to the detriment of the system. Maybe it was just programmed that way, and they just decided to do things different on the ST. Of course, the C64, it looks like an 8-bit game. I mean, it's pretty impressive that the levels appear to be identical, but your sprite is basically 2 or 3 colors.
Yeah, actually, it doesn't look that bad.
No,
though. It looks
no.
quite play. I just wonder if it's any good.
And
it's funny. Sometimes C64 games are more playable. I'd have to go there and try it.
I think that's the case with with this. But maybe I'll try it out.
It is the exact same level setup though. As we look at it, I mean, well, I've had that happen a few times, but it looks very similar. So the bottom of the I think we can just sum it up. A great concept. A difficult. I mean, I will say this. I'll give CTA some credit. The concept was great. The ability to pull this off, it would be tough for the best of companies, I think. This is a difficult. This might work better in a lemming style format where you have a mouse and you watch the guy walk around and you move your guy to certain places with a mouse, sort of like a lemmings type of affair, where you can see more of the map. That was another thing that was frustrating. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just you have to remember where he's going. Well,
this game is. I mean, if you take the dog out, this game is essentially lemmings with one person.
Well, it's an action game though.
But if you take the dog out, it's literally lemmings.
Well, if you take the dog out, there's no game.
Well, yeah, it is.
It's one lemming.
If you gave the dog some sort of a mouse control where you could drop him where you wanted him.
I suppose you're right. I'm just trying to think of ways that this thing control
I don't
better.
think that this is like I said. I think if they would have made those 2 changes, let you change positions on the kid without having to jump, and made the kick activate without having to hold forward, it would make a world of difference. Now, would it be better if you could see a little bit more of the map? If they would have zoomed out just a little bit.
Well, you could get a map but I mean, it's pointless.
Yeah, and it also would have made the game. Maybe it would have made the game too easy if you could see more of the obstacles in front of you.
I also forgot to mention that often, and I don't know if this happened to you. There were actually 2 more things. One, I would lose the kid a lot.
Yeah,
and so you're running and you're like, oh, please, Lord,
right?
Please hope he's not doing something stupid. And I would just run all over the levels, and sometimes you would bounce on something, and it would bounce you up a couple levels. You're like, oh no, what do I do?
And what would have been great is if they would have just had like an arrow on the screen pop up.
That would have helped because the map is not good. And then another thing that would happen quite often is there's an animation. This happened a lot on the PC version. It happened to me sometimes on the Amiga, but most of the PC, they had an animation where if you stop on a ledge, your dog would be like, whoa, whoa, and he'd fall over. Well, let me tell you something. It takes that animation like 5 seconds to run. In the meantime, that little punk is just trotting right along. I'm going to die, sucker. Screw you, dog. And that was real frustrating. But losing the kid, it was the worst, especially when you were real close to finishing. Man, when that little jerk runs off, I was just like, oh, son of a gun.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, that's part of the game, I guess. But I something tells me that if this game had a little more thought had been put in the design, I think you'd cut these levels in half. You know what I'm saying? Make them, or at least at the beginning, make them. The first level should have been brain dead easy.
Yeah. Just
when
to
you
get
make it
used to
that
controls.
tough, you're screwing up.
Yeah.
And it's the Amiga. Again, we just must suck as gamers. Maybe people. Although I've read a lot of personal reviews of this game that say it's too freaking hard. It's too hard.
Yeah.
So there you go. So reviews. Let's have a quick look, shall we? This game got a bunch. So this game received pretty positive marks, to be honest with you. Here, you want to read this real quick?
Yeah. So overall, let's see. Amiga Format gave this an 89. Amiga Joker a little bit lower at 74. In fact, the Amiga Joker was the lowest score that it got. A lot of these magazines waited until 94 to even review this thing. So let's see. The One, another big Amiga magazine, gave it 84. So yeah, pretty high reviews for a platforming game late in the Amiga's life. When you look at some of the other ones that we've seen, that they really just went to town on tearing them apart.
Yeah, I can see why this game would review well. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a unique game and it's got good graphics. We haven't really gotten into the graphics a whole lot, but I mean, the kid is animated beautifully. The dog's wacky antics when he does them are pretty wacky. But we've reviewed a lot of games that got by on a lot of the way they look, and I said, and this one probably also got by a little bit on the uniqueness of it because it is unique. But that's pretty much it. So eBay on this. Most of what I found, in fact, everything I found was this thing was released in a pack or a compilation with Pinball Fantasies.
Weird.
CD3, yeah, well, it's a CD32 release, and looks like these things are going for about. Well, of course, there's none in the States. Again, this is another game I doubt got an American release. I couldn't find any inkling that had been NTSC version of it. You're looking at somewhere between $35 and $55. That's a compilation of the CD32. I didn't see any boxed versions that were up right now. It may be it sold pretty well from what I was trying to look for sales numbers or to see how much they raised for charity, and I couldn't find any. Much like every other time I try to find sales numbers in the Amiga. I'll tell you, the best thing I ever saw for sales was that article on our page,
right,
where it had like and where it had like the eBay sales. I mean, but in terms of actually trying to find software sales, even the units moved. I can't ever find any of that stuff.
And it's funny. I think the video game industry is so much different than any other. Like with film, you always know box office numbers. Like that's what they use to market the film. But in video games, it's always been so secretive. Even now, like NPD numbers, you have to subscribe to their service to get it. And if you get it, you're not allowed to tell anybody. Only the companies are allowed to say, "Hey, we sold 1 million units." They're the only people that release that information.
It's ridiculous, actually.
Yeah, it is ridiculous.
And I don't know how it was back in the day, but it must have been pretty similar because. Like I said, I've looked so many times. I've talked to a bunch of other people that have just tried to find numbers. It's funny about how much of the history of this stuff is just gone. I mean, who would like to know like how many people bought Shadow of the Beast 2 or 3,
right,
or how many people bought Sleepwalker? it would be neat just to know, okay, did it move 1,000 units? Did it move 100,000? Which unlikely.
I think that maybe some of it, and of course this happens with all forms of media, not just video games, but, sometimes things go to one retailer and they don't ship, and so, like, they'll be shipped to, another retailer and get the cut, the cut out, and they sell them at a discount, and maybe the sales from those kind of retailers aren't tracked. But again, this doesn't seem to be a problem in the music industry. You always know how many albums are sold, at least before Napster and all that stuff. But yeah, I wish that video games were different, but they're not.
Yeah, and if you're looking for this on eBay, the prices we quoted were for the compilation. The stuff that I've seen sell in the past couple months, of course, all in the UK and Europe, you're looking at, the sales prices I've seen are somewhere in the ballpark of $20, $30 for the box set. If you can find it, there's none up right now, but if you're patient, they'll probably pop.
Aaron, we've got some questions.
All right.
So,
wait, before you get into this,
okay.
what do you give the game? Thumbs up, thumbs down? What'd you think? Was it one you'd come back to, or is it? It's part of me really wants to be good at it. I just don't know if I've got the ability.
I've got to give it. Boy, this is really a tough one for me.
It's borderline.
It's borderline.
We had the same opinion on this one, I think.
Yeah. I don't want to give it a thumbs up, but I can't really give it a thumbs down because I don't think it's a bad game. I think this is a thumb squarely midways.
It's so clever.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's worth checking out, at least on YouTube.
It's the Mr. Dude's wild ride of sleepwalking games. They took a concept that was interesting and unique, and then they sort of made it weird.
Yeah, absolutely.
And almost impossible to play.
So questions. I put a question out on Twitter saying, if anybody had any questions. And you can always email us at questions@amigospodcast.com if you've got a question for us to answer on the show.
Or can they Twitter us too?
You can tweet us however you want to get in touch.
Before you get in these questions, I want to mention something.
Okay.
Did you notice this week I fired up the Twitter machine and actually tweeted a couple things?
I saw that.
Unusual for me. I'm trying.
You're breaking in.
Everyone else is playing with Twitter. I've always thought Twitter was garbage. Human garbage. But trying to play the game, get in there, and so I'm trying to be more Twittery.
You can follow all your favorite wrestlers on there.
I took time to badmouth our friends over at Retro Asylum for their Coleco review of Donkey Kong, and they badmouthed Smurf Rescue. I was appalled at that.
Did they respond?
Yeah. They also sort of badmouthed Donkey Kong. They were like, well, we didn't really badmouth it, but the controls are no good. And I was like, man, I love that game on the ColecoVision. In America, Donkey Kong ColecoVision, the best. Like that was when that came out. Everybody was like, "Oh, look at that!"
Right.
That's the best version of Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
And Smurf is great. You have to get into it. Once you get past the first couple levels, it gets more interesting.
We'll have to play some on Amigathon 2017.
Smurfy. But anyway, I'm trying to do better, Bo.
Okay. Well,
otherwise, Bo will beat me.
Welcome to Twitter.
Oh yeah, thanks.
Robert Means writes, what do you guys think of modern Amiga OS-like OSs, like AROS or MorphOS? Do you think that they're worth running, or are merely for hobbyists?
Yeah, but what do you think of these modern OSs for the Amiga? I'd be interested to hear your take.
Well, I think that they squarely land in these are things for hobbyists. If you are a serious computer user of any stripe, I think that if you're using software for work, if you have to use a computer for work, it's going to be a real headache. I'm sure that it's possible, and I'm sure there are people out there that make it work, but the amount of time that you have to invest, I feel this way about Linux to a certain extent, although there are many people that will swear by Linux and are very adamant about their Linux usage.
Send your email to Boat.
But you can send your hate mail to me. But to me, I want to be able to get the job done. I want to be able to get it done quickly with the least amount of resistance possible. For a long time, I was a Mac user. And when it became possible for me to do all the things that I was doing on the Mac on the PC, when sort of platform specific releases started to be not such a big thing, I switched over to the PC because I can do everything that I want to do on the PC with the least resistance possible. Now, that said, is it a bad thing that these hobbyist OSs, that's a hard phrase to say, exist? No. I think it's awesome that there's like a modern day equivalent to Amiga OS, and people are doing cool things with it. It's fun to mess around with. It's fun to see what kind of homebrew software is being developed for the platform. it's cool to figure out ways to interface these machines with the internet or with, modern day operating systems. I love all that stuff. Hobbyists, that's what retro computing is all about. It's an awesome hobby.
I have to disagree with you there, Boat, on a couple things. Some of the stuff you said I agree with. In terms of the modern OSs on the modern Amiga OSs, I think they're definitely a hobbyist gimmick, but I think we're not getting that new Amiga anytime soon. What we are getting are new computers that run these OSs on them, and I think they have an important place in a future for Amiga. I think much like the Vampire and these super accelerator cards have an important place because these are going to be your next generation of Amigas. These new computers that are running these OSs, that's as close as the Amiga, hardcores are going to get to a new Amiga release. And so as these OSs mature, they've got something to mature to, I guess is what I'm saying. You've got something you could run, because let's face facts, you can take a computer and build it and say this is an Amiga, but if you put Windows on it or even Linux, it's not really an Amiga, it's something else. At least you're putting an Amiga OS on it, and it's built for that OS from the ground up, and you can say, listen, this is the newest, the greatest thing for the Amiga, and then, hey, once you've got it built, see what you can do with it. So in that way, I think there's a reason for them to exist. That's outside of the hobbyists, because you never know, something could catch on. Maybe it's always good to get some alternative OSs going too. Also, I don't agree with you with Linux. I think Linux is more important now than it's ever been, and I've never been a big Linux guy, but Windows have their walled garden is nearing completion. It won't be much longer before the Windows OS is going to be just like the Mac. And when I say that, I don't mean that in a bad way for the Mac, but I mean Apple effectively, they ran the show on your Mac. They did it all. The ability of the PC.
Now, when you say they did it all, what do you mean?
They got to the point. Right, the newer Macs. I'll look at the iOS as an example.
Okay, well, iOS is not the same as Mac OS.
I understand, but what I'm saying is, Android's the same way too.
Okay, so
I guess a better way to put it. Let me back off the Mac. The Windows PCs are becoming like phones, walled garden, right? They've already got the OS out now, where you have to purchase everything through a Windows store. Okay, that's not good. That's a bad thing, and it was inevitable. It was inevitable as the girl Doctor Who. It was going to happen, just a matter of how long they were going to wait till they punch it down.
Windows 10s, folks. It's the girl Doctor Who.
Hey, 10s, very good, Boat. And so an operating system like Linux that is, not controlled is important. They've done a good job. I tried Linux years ago, and I just couldn't get it. I didn't. Younger me would have just been like, screw it, let's get in here and fool with it. But older me doesn't have the time or the patience to screw with stuff. I've been running Linux for the past year or two on a couple of my computers, and I really like it. It's a good operating system. It's solid. It does the things. Now, much like you said, you had to move from the Mac to the PC. You could get the same stuff. That was what I was waiting for in Linux, is to get the same sort of. I wanted to be able to do the same things I could do on the Windows without having to run Windows. Mm-hmm. And it's there. It's very close.
It's not there for me. There are still, there's no Adobe on Linux.
You mean like a Photoshop?
Like everything. Everything that I use.
Obviously.
And the alternatives are not there.
I understand.
By a long shot.
And you're doing different things than I do. Yeah. Okay? And there's no doubt. But I think it's on the way.
Yeah.
I think it's getting more support. I think.
And the minute that the minute that you can run Adobe stuff, Finale, which is a music notation program that I need, really those two things, then I'll seriously look at Linux.
I mean, and the thing is, I understand where you're coming from, but I mean, we could both agree on this. Linux is an important, and to a certain degree, the Amiga OSs, they're important things to have in production and being supported, because you really need that alternative out there if things get hairy.
Right.
I don't like the Windows 10. I don't like the way Microsoft has done a lot of stuff. And they've kept making it worse. And I don't like the fact that I can't control updates. I don't like the fact that there's all this software in there that I can't turn off. I don't like the fact that I can't stop things from loading. Mm-hmm. I don't like the fact that I can't get into certain areas that I used to be able to get into. It's irksome.
Yeah,
and it's
I understand
intrusive.
that. Sure.
And I've neared my limit on it.
Mhm.
You know,
And
and it's sad because there's a lot of aspects of Windows 10 I really like.
But I think that any new kind of movement within computer software, it has to start out as a hobbyist thing. Like Linux at one point was a guy,
No, you're right.
and so Linux has grown up and fully matured now. Obviously, maybe there will be some reason for these Amiga operating systems to continue and grow, and then they'll reach the stage where they're no longer hobbyists. But I think if you just look at the amount of people that are into this thing, they can't be anything other than a hobbyist platform.
Well, and something else when it comes to the Amiga OSs, I've literally had a cup of coffee with them, so I can't sit here and say I don't know how well they run, how well they do. I just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I guess that's the short answer to the question. I don't know if they're what they are.
Yeah.
But I mean, I like the idea that they're out there to make me happy.
Me too. Great question. Thank you, Robert. Our last question comes from our very own chat moderator, Pishbot.
I know him.
Okay, and you'll love this question.
Oh.
If you could own any arcade machine, which one would you choose?
Any arcade machine. Well, we'd have to differentiate between what I would personally want and what I would be valuable. Okay? And I'm going to leave valuable alone. Okay? Because, Discatron Environmental is valuable and would be awesome, by the way. Don't get me wrong. Or a regular Tron, which I owned briefly in a working state. But I'm sure I've mentioned this before, but I would love to own a dedicated Zookeeper. It's a game I love. It's amongst my favorite games, and it doesn't feel the same when you emulate it. And I haven't played it for so long, I'm not sure I even know what that means anymore. But that one would be at the top of my list. Also at near the top would be one of the Laserdisc games, probably Dragon's Lair, because I love it so much. I've played it so much back in the day. I already own a Donkey Kong. It would be up there because I love it so much. Again, I love Tron. I sort of miss Tron, but it was a monster of a machine. It was real tough to keep up. So, but it would be up in that area too, just because it's such a unique looking game. Plus, I enjoy it, and it doesn't control right when you play it at home.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
I'm gonna go a different direction. When I hear arcade machine, I think about all the machines you could find at an arcade, and I'd love to have an old '60s EM ball bowler. One of those, they have the little balls. Yeah. And it's like a mini bowling alley.
You could get them, but in fact, I know a guy in Huntington. I almost bought one, but they're huge. They're so
huge.
Long. I didn't go in the aspect of having like that kind of stuff.
Right.
I thought an arcade machine, because I would, if I given the choice, I would pick a pinball machine, and it would probably be something like Twilight Zone or gosh, I'm trying to think. Or Twilight Zone would be top of the list because I love the show. And it's a good machine. I don't think it's as great as everybody thinks it is. I think it's pretty good, but it would be up there. And also, it's super duper valuable.
If you could, if you brought it out to literally any kind of an arcade machine, not just a video arcade machine, would it be Twilight Zone?
When I was a kid, I used to go play these EM games that were like shooting galleries. That would be awesome to have one of those. Yeah. And also, there was this one where you flew this helicopter. That would be a fun one to have. So, electromechanical stuff. Also, there's one with like a haunted graveyard theme. That was awesome. Another one awesome. So, but those games are hard to keep up. But I mean, if I could get one in pristine condition,
we're talking about
Fantasy
World. So.
Those would be on the list too. And of course, they're huge.
Yeah.
But those would be on the list too. Good question.
Yeah. Thank you, Pishbot. Well, I think we've reached the end of the line, Aaron. So I'm going to put these credits up and get them rolling. Put them right in front of us, and go ahead and thank all of the lovely people that make this show happen. Did you know that we have Patreon, Aaron?
I've heard that. I read
Patreon.com/Amigos Podcast if you'd like to support the Amigos Podcast and keep the lights on over at Amigos Studio. We'd appreciate it. I'd like to thank these folks in particular. Ian Griffiths, Duncan Stiles, THT, Anthony Jarvis, Dreamcatcher, Adam Battersby, John Marshall, Darren Coles, Neil Mansell, Brutal Barracuda, Alan Kebab, David McCrandles, Gary Hucker, Will Williams, Ravi Abbott, Kim Tommy Humbertstad, Josh Nan, Jason Warnes Lane, Eric Nelson, Graham Vebke,
Paul Harrington, Rob O'Hara, Laurent Giroux, Jonas Rullo, Kolbjorn Barman, Tapes from the Crypt, Adam Bradley, Chris Folds, Daniel Bingston, O'Brien's Retro and Vintage, Chad Halstead, and Brent Dowdy.
We're going to have to start a podcast just to say the names.
You know, I was going to, it's too bad that my guitar is not next to me. I was going to do a Nirvana medley in
That is
honor
a
of our
travesty.
yeah.
Here's a quick question. THT.
THT.
What do you think that stands for? Is there a hidden meaning that I don't get?
Too hot for television?
Is that what that is?
Probably not.
Just like Jerry Springer, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what it means,
No.
do you? We could guess. Is that what your guess is?
Yeah, I think that's the name of his YouTube channel, I want to say. I know his real name, but I can't recall it.
Is there a THT in it?
I don't think so. I think his name's like Terry Dubois.
That should be our next contest. Guess what that stands for.
All right, we can bring that up on the marathon. We can ponder it.
What
as
are we
go
playing next
12
week,
hours.
Boat? For God's sakes.
Next week we're going to take a look at that classic Quack.
Oh, okay.
Yep, this was suggested by Chris Folds. And,
You mean Chris Folds?
Chris Folds. And we're going to do it. So it's going to be a fun one. Until then, guys, adios.